There is a window in your home, somewhere, maybe facing the backyard, maybe the side yard with the old oak you've been meaning to trim. You've looked through it 1,000 times at dusk, at dawn, sometimes at 3 in the morning, when sleep just wouldn't come. You watched the feeders empty. You watched the squirrels cause their little dramas. You saw the cardinals arrive like they owned the place. You think you know what your yard is. A patch of grass, a garden bed, maybe a bird bath you forget to refill. A quiet, familiar corner of the world that wakes up when you do and goes to sleep more or less when you do. But here's the thing, it doesn't. Between 2 in the morning and 4 in the morning, your yard becomes something else. Something that has been happening 6 feet from your bedroom window your entire life, completely without your knowledge, and honestly, without your permission. And birds specifically, birds are right at the center of it. Not as innocent little creatures want, ting for sunrise, as architects, as operators, as animals running a system you were never meant to see. To really understand what's going on out there, you have to let go of something first. This comfortable idea that birds are daytime animals who simply switch off at night, that's not their biology. That's our bias. We assume their day looks like our day because the hours we're awake happen to overlap with theirs. But birds, as a class, have been moving through darkness for over 150 million years. Their earliest ancestors evolved alongside predatory dinosaurs that were active in daylight, which made the night, ecologically speaking, the safest address available. Darkness wasn't an obstacle, it was a strategy. And most species we call diurnal active, only during the day, are doing far more in the dark than we ever give them credit for. We see the window that overlaps with our own wakefulness, and we call that the whole picture. It isn't. Cornell's ornithology lab has been tracking nocturnal bird activity using Doppler weather radar across the United States for more than 2 decades now, through a program called BirdCast. What they found is genuinely difficult to process at first. On a single autumn night in the northeastern United States alone, their radar captured over 200 million individual bird flight events between sunset and dawn, not calls, not small adjustments on a branch, full migratory flights. And the vast majority of that movement, this enormous biological pulse, is concentrated right in that 2 to 4 in the morning window. The reason is atmospheric, and it's elegant. In those early morning hours, before any hint of light reaches the sky, the lowest layer of the atmosphere stabilizes and cools into what scientists call the nocturnal boundary layer. This creates a specific wind pattern, just a few hundred feet above the ground, a natural current, almost like a river in the air, that only exists for those 2 hours each night. IRDs have been reading this system for millions of years. They don't wander through it, they ride it. It's a highway that assembles itself in the dark and disappears by morning. But that's high above your yard. What's happening at ground level is a different story. During those same hours, songbirds engage in something researchers have documented and named the pre-dawn acoustic surge. This is not the dawn chorus, that familiar explosion of birdsong you might hear around 5 or 5:30 in the morning. This is earlier, quieter, more targeted, and in many ways more important. Individual males, robins, starlings, blackbirds begin broadcasting territorial signals at around 65 to 70 decibels, roughly the volume of a normal conversation, but directed through the specific acoustic shape of your garden. They are not singing because they're happy. They are not warming up for the morning. They are drawing property lines. They are staking claims across your flower beds and field, NCE posts and compost heap, in a language built entirely from sound. And they are listening to the responses with a level of precision that makes our own hearing feel almost useless by comparison. The avian auditory system processes sound about 10 times faster than ours, where we experience audio in chunks of roughly 20 milliseconds, which already feels instantaneous to US birds. are resolving sound in windows as narrow as half a millisecond. A single bird song that reaches your ears as one smooth, flowing note is, to the bird producing it and the bird receiving it, a dense sequence of individual data packets. Information about location, body condition, age, stress levels, history of past confrontations. Research from the University of Washington found that male song sparrows can individually identify up to 40 distinct rivals by voice alone and rank them by threat level based on spectral details in their calls that are completely imperceptible to human ears without laboratory equipment. What sounds like birdsong to you in those dark hours is actually a negotiation. Your yard is a trading floor. The commodity is survivable space. And the birds are not out there alone. The average suburban or urban yard in the United States, depending on the region and the season, supports somewhere between 12 and 20 individual small mammals per acre on any given night. Mice, voles, shrews, things moving through your garden that you will never see because they are extraordinarily good at staying invisible. And then there are flying squirrels. Glaucomys volans, the eastern flying squirrel, is present in densities of up to 5 individuals per acre across mature suburban yards in the eastern half of North America. Most homeowners have no idea they exist on their property because these animals are entirely nocturnal and produce essentially no sound when they move. They glide between trees on a thin membrane of skin, generating no aerodynamic noise. Nothing. They land in silence. They are in your yard tonight. They have almost certainly been in your yard every night for years. The birds know they're there. Eastern screech-owls year-round residents in virtually every North American suburb with any real tree canopy don't simply hunt during those early morning hours. They position themselves deliberately around the acoustic activity of other birds. Researchers studying screech-owl predation in residential Ohio found that the owls consistently move to the edges of active songbird territorial disputes. The logic, if you can call it that, is cold and precise. A songbird engaged in territorial advertisement is a songbird whose predator detection is partially occupied. It's focused on producing calls, monitoring responses, processing acoustic information from rivals. The owl exploits that window. It moves when the small birds get loud, then it waits. We would call that tactical. In any human context, we would absolutely call that tactical. So what you have in those 2 hours before the world wakes up is a layered, fully operational, predatory, and competitive ecosystem running at intensity just outside your back door, governed by physical laws you can't directly perceive, unfolding on timescales your neurology can't resolve, between animals who have been refining these behaviors for longer than our species has existed, let alone had yards to put between themselves and the wild, and the sensory world they're operating in that's worth sitting with for a moment. Robins and many other migratory birds possess cryptochrome proteins in their retinal cells that are sensitive to the Earth's magnetic field through a quantum mechanical process, actual quantum entanglement happening inside a living eye. These birds do not merely detect magnetic north as a direction. They see it. It appears as a visual overlay on their normal vision, a navigational layer superimposed on whatever else they're looking at. Your yard, to a robin in those dark holes, ears, exists inside a visible geomagnetic map. The infrasound your garden produces low-frequency vibrations generated by wind moving over landscape features, by changes in atmospheric pressure, by distant traffic you don't consciously register is being detected and processed by birds, whose inner ear structures respond to frequencies an order of magnitude below your minimum threshold. Your ultraviolet reflective garden flowers, which look white or pale to you, are blazing with distinct, high-contrast patterns to any bird looking at them. What feels to you like a quiet, dark, ordinary backyard is, to the animals moving through it right now, A precisely indexed, electromagnetically mapped, acoustically charted, multidimensionally lit operational environment. Your yard is a place you visit occasionally. For the animals working through it in the dark, it is home, and they know it far better than you do. The next time you find yourself awake at 3 in the morning and you hear something, move outside a sound you can't quite place, a call too faint and strange to name, understand what you're actually overhearing. The edge of a system that has been running continuously, every night, with complete indifference to whether you're awake or asleep or even alive. You were never really the observer in that yard. You were always, just quietly, the blind spot. So I want to know, what is the strangest thing you have ever heard or seen in your garden, in the hours before dawn? And how long did it take you before you realized you had absolutely no explanation for it?